Hi, I'm James Eade of the Eade Foundation, and this is episode 57 of the Chess Files. The answers are out there. And today's question is, do you know what a Norwegian rat is? And I did not. I'm not a rodentologist, and I wanted to find out more about it. And then when I bought the book, I ordered it online, and it comes in, and it turns out it's a chess book. Who would have thought it? So I was very, very surprised. And I thought, okay, Cyrus, Lakdawala, Carsten, Hansen, can I find them and have them on the show? And the answer turned out to be yes. So Carsten and Cyrus, hello. You guys wrote a book about rats?
We are the world's leading rodentologists in the chess world, at least.
Yeah.
In the chess world, we can display our credentials, but we don't need to. Everybody knows.
Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious. It's one of those things. Hey, does this look better this way?
Yeah, I think it is. Who knows?
This way?
Yes.
Or this way? This way. Okay. And this leaves Cyrus on the bottom of my screen. So
also, I noticed you guys both outdressed me, which is rude. I think it's rude. You planned it together. Look, I'm wearing a crappy SDSU T-shirt, and you guys are like, Carsten is dressed for work. You're dressed.
Carsten
to play golf or something. I feel left out.
Yeah. Well, we've been texting back and forth, and we figured you would wear probably a T-shirt of some kind. We didn't predict the San Diego State.
I thought it was a podcast. I'm actually in my underwear, so thank God you cut it off here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. TMI.
Yeah. Too much information, Cyrus. But we try to keep it waist above. And but back to this wonderful book, which I own, and I was clever enough to leave it in the other room, so I can't show you. But I read it cover to cover. But I wanted to talk to you guys about what's inside the covers, because I haven't gotten to that part yet. And what I understand, the Norwegian Rat is like 1e4, g6, d4, and f6.
Yes, instead of bishop g7. Yeah, it's kind of a hybrid between like Alekin's defense, modern, Gurgenit's Perk, and even French. You can get French positions from it,
Well, then I'm warming up to it already. But doesn't it give the center to white? I mean, for crying out loud, a pawn's on d4 and e4.
Okay,
yeah,
total domination in the center.
Yeah, it certainly does, but I mean, so does so many other openings. I mean, that's the thing here. I mean, this is sort of a modern version of a hyper-modern defense. Because back in the 20s, Nimzowitsch and Grunfeld and all these guys have figured out it's okay to actually hand over the center to your opponent if you can attack it afterwards. And this version here, I think, was originally invented by a Swedish guy called Rolf Martens, and he's the one that originally came up with the name. I think he called it the Norske Rotte.
North Sea Defense. Yeah. I think it wasn't North Sea Defense.
Somebody else called it that too, because they saw the Norwegian Rat and I think figured out it's not particularly appealing. But then I know in English chess circles it was somewhat popular in the early 90s. I have to admit that I didn't get bitten by the rat back then, but yeah, I mean, then Magnus Carlsen picked it up. He played it in a game against Michael Adams in the Chess Olympiad, where he lost famously. Cyrus, he annotated it for one of his books. Then Cyrus, he brought the idea of the book to me and said, what do you think about this opening? And I'm like, it looks horrible. Absolutely terrible. And then secondarily, he said, well, if we should write something about it, then we also need to play it. And I'm like struck with instant terror because I don't play the modern or the Perk or anything like that. So,
His rating went from 2,500 or 2,550 to like about 1,300 for a week, but then he bounced right back and went to 26.
Yeah, well, yes, we have our ups and downs in chess, and I want to emphasize that, kids, never give up. You can always get back your former strength, as Carsten has proven. And Cyrus, aren't you happy that he pronounced the Swedish name instead of leaving it to you or me to butcher?
Yeah, I was really sweating that. I was really worried about the Rolf Masten. Is that how you say it properly? I don't know how to do it in the Swedish way. How am I supposed to do that?
I struggle with Lakdawala, so
Yeah, do you know Wala is like Smith in India? You know that,
Yeah.
right? It means guy who sells stuff. Like, Paniwala is guy who sells water. Lakdawala is guy who sells wood.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We can get into the naming conventions in chess. Sometimes they make no sense at all. Sometimes they make perfect sense. But often they're named after a player who didn't really invent it, but who popularized it. And
Right.
so,
Well, we got nailed for that. Carsten and I got nailed for that by this anonymous writer. We won't mention him, but like basically the day our book went out, Carsten posted the book, and then like we heard the cry, "Whores! Whores! You used to name Magnus."
oh, of course.
Sell books. You're a pair of whores. That's what you are. You should have named it North Sea Defense. And we said, but Magnus plays it. Is the highest rated player ever, and he plays it over and over and over and over. He has like 1 million Banter Blitz games. Can't we call it that? No, you're whores, both of you.
Okay. Yeah, and we used to get that anytime Bobby Fischer's name was used in a title. Because when I was producing Hypermodern Press, we said the Bobby Fischer I knew and other stories, and I got a lot of flack for that. Arnold Denker was the source of the book, the author of the book, along with Larry Parr. But it was their title. I just published it, but man, I got a lot of backlash. You're trying to make money off of Bobby Fischer's name.
Soltis too. Soltis just put out that he has that series of 60 memorable games of Caruana, and it's like a series, right? But like, oh my God, they went berserk on him. Like it's like, it's okay. It's just marketing. It doesn't make him evil, completely evil.
I mean, if you feel so compelled against it, I mean, don't buy the book. I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
it's a simple thing. Vote with your feet. Don't vote with your pocketbook. Vote with your wallet. It's a marketing technique. So what? Get over it.
I'm going to have to stop both of you there. I'm going to have to insist that if you don't like the book, you're going to have to buy it.
Anyway.
Yes. It's hypocritical to say, I don't like the book, but I've never read it. So because you don't like the book, you have to now buy it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And people seem to be judging the book by its cover.
That's right.
We all know that, right?
So
this is the book we're talking about.
The thing is, we are both advocates of actually judging things that are inside the book rather than just how it's been named. I mean, we like to work hard on what we put inside our books. So I think it's fair before you cast judgment on our terrible use of Magnus Carlsen's name to actually look at what's inside before you throw it entirely away.
And what's in a name? A rose by any other name. But let's get back into what's inside the book, because I noticed in my intense study of it in the 2 days that I've owned it, that often your knight has to go to h5.
Yes.
And a black knight on h5, and there's a saying that a knight on the rim is dim, or a knight on the rim is grim. And
but there's another saying that a knight, a fianchettoed knight. Oh, damn it! I can't rhyme anything with fianchetto, can I? I was hoping that, like, the moment I said fianchetto, I was hoping in the 2 seconds I could find a rhyme, but I couldn't. The knight actually fianchettos and often goes to f5 because white weakens light squares with e5. Okay, and so You
Yes.
often get like the Gurgenitz perk setups where black has D5, and the knight goes to E7 and F5 and H5 and G6 and E6. You get those setups. You get similar setups where black dumps the bad bishop. Black plays like either bishop F5 or bishop G4, dumps the light squared bishop, and then puts the pawns on the opposite color.
Well, my feeling was always when I had white, put my pawns on dark squares, and when I had black, put my pawns on white squares. And that always served me very well. And if you put them on dark squares, get rid of your dark squared bishop. And if you put them on white squares, get rid of your white squared bishop.
Right. That's what it is. We're trying to sucker people into a French where we have no bad bishop.
Yeah. The knight on F5
one of the ideas.
Because
that occurs over and over and over where, like they get suckered into a French and they have like a bad bishop often. And you have no light squared bishop, like inside on B.
It's like the ideal French. The French of Montreal.
Yes, exactly. So it's and the thing is, it's a fun opening, and I mean, even though you send your knight out to H5, and it kind of looks silly to begin with, it sort of inspires what we can call Norwegian rat rage.
Derangement syndrome. No. Norwegian rat derangement syndrome. We mentioned it all through the book. You didn't know this, but Carsten and I are also psychologists.
Oh, yeah.
We both have PhDs in psychology. You didn't know. We're too modest to mention.
Yes.
Carsten, next book, I want PhD next to our names, all right?
I will see if we can pull that off.
Don't underestimate the power of irritating the opponent, like taunting the opponent. Because when you play knight to H5, what you're doing is you're not saying this out loud, which would be impolite, but the opponent knows you're so weak. I'm playing something stupid on you and taunting you. You can't beat me from here. That's how weak you are. That's what the opponent hears, right? Yeah. Like normally when my knight goes to H5, like the first GM I played, die, Cyrus Lakdawala, die. He played G4, G2 to G4, completely overextended, and then
perfect.
And then masterfully up a piece, I allowed him to draw in the ending by eliminating all my pawns.
You guys are only helping people get through the opening. The rest of it's on that.
Well, we do annotate the games in their entirety for instructive purposes. I mean, and
context too. You reach similar middle games and even endings. You you actually reach very similar positions.
Well, a lot of it is about the pawn structures and if you're comfortable with the pawn structure, then you know where the pieces belong.
Exactly.
So it makes the game simple.
Yeah.
No less complicated.
If you're the type of player that does really well in alien positions that are non-theoretical, then this book is for you. Okay. If you're like the if you love theory and hate to veer 1 inch outside of theory, then probably buy it anyway, but it's not for you.
Buy it as a gift for someone else.
Buy it as a gift for someone with less rigid mind than yours.
Well, Cyrus, I haven't talked to you about this, but I have talked to Carsten because he and I dress better. But I always tried to get out of the opening theory as soon as I possibly can. So this kind of opening immediately appealed to me as long as it's playable. And are you coming on the air and saying that the Norwegian Rat is playable?
Okay, look, I'm not Christian, but I just happen to have a Bible here, and I'm raising my right hand. I've got my hand on the Bible. Okay, and look, what'll happen is if you put it on the engine will go, oh, no, black is dead lost. And then like about 15 moves later, it always goes, my mistake, black is actually okay. It always sort of reduces and reduces. There's one other opening I know that does that. The engines totally freak out always. It's the Petrosian variation of the Winnower French, where e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, bishop b4, e5, b6. And then when white plays queen g4, you play like bishop b4 to f8. You undevelop the bishop back to f8. And the engines just go completely berserk, minus 800, you're losing. No, I'm not. I'm not losing. Okay, you calm down. You can't do anything with your development lead in a block position.
Engines don't like undevelopment. That's what I've learned.
And they don't like knights fianchettoed and provocations and knights on the wing. And
I fianchettoed my rook once. It didn't work out so well. But so you've got your hand on a Bible-like book, and you're saying that it's playable. And but in my extensive research in the 2 days that I've owned it, I have found that you guys recommend it in rapid or blitz.
Well, here's what happened with Carsten and me. Okay, we started playing the openings because we must practice what we preach. We can't say buy our book, but we won't play it. It's crappy. We won't play it. So we played it in online blitz, and the first week we both lost about 80 to 100 rating points, and then second week I found I basically got them back. It was my understanding. I didn't know the Norwegian Rat well enough.
There you go.
As I studied more and more, it took about maybe about 3 weeks. Okay. But by about the third week, I got to my normal rating, as if I was playing Carcan or French or Sicilian or Philidor. Exact rating, no difference in the rating.
And how much time do you think you would put in to study the Sicilian or the Rilopez before you could be able to play it well?
Well, ages. I mean, not one lifetime is not enough. There's a line in the King's Indian that's called the long variation, where the theory now goes over move 30. So really, when you're playing a 40 moves in 2-hour game, it's really, the time control is actually 7 moves in 2 hours, because 33 moves of theory, so you only have to make 7 moves to reach time control. I'm sorry, but that's
unbelievable.
That's not chess. It's
not
some
chess.
other. You know what it is?
You're playing someone else's
third grader. You're like the third grader. You're forced to recite your freaking stupid poem in front of the class. That's what it is. Do you really? That's what you want in chess? You want to relive the third grade poem recitation?
That was traumatic for you, wasn't it, Cyrus?
It was. It was. I can't even remember it now. See, that's how useless it was.
Yeah. But I have
it's very valuable to also just pull your opponent out of what he does every day, and if he mechanically knows how to repeat all the lines in the Sicilian or the Caracan and so on, and then all of a sudden is faced with G6, Knight F6, it's sort of resets the battle. I mean, even when you're playing against stronger players, they are forced to think outside what they usually do in the framework of what the openings they usually work with, and then you have a better than even chance to do something, because especially for players rated at Cyrus and my level, I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't be playing up equally with IMs and GMs. But even for lower rated players, if they're playing against players that are at the same level as themselves, to force the opponent to think for themselves, then all of a sudden they have a better chance than they otherwise would have. Because when people start thinking for themselves, bad things happen. That's
exactly.
Well, I don't want the viewers to get that slight. Let that go over their heads. Carsten and Cyrus are at a certain level, and then there's me. And but my goal was to always get people out of the book. And so I
thought his goal was to dress better than everyone. It's not that.
Yeah, the Fischer chess was set the pieces up at random kind of thing. And so you're playing on your own resources, what you know about, rather than studying grandmaster games and playing a grandmaster's move. You're on your own. And isn't that what chess was all about? Why you got attracted to it in the first place?
I found with students, that they make master. Okay, let's say they make it to 2200. They're young. They make it to 2200. I've got a 12-year-old that just crossed 2200.
I hate him.
Yeah, I hate them too because I was like 1150 at his age. Anyway, anyway,
you know how many snowbanks I had to crawl over to get to 2200?
Anyway, like they're 2200 only in their realm. Okay, you get them out of their realm. Like I noticed, like if you play like 1b6 on them, they're considerably weaker. Like look, you have only so much study time. Okay, if you're like a sharp theoretical player, let's say you play Dragon or Nadorf with black or Roy Lopez with white, and you have to know 10,000, I need to learn Schliemann, I need to learn this and that. You're going to spend the majority of your time on the topical openings. Like, like I'm going to spend the day working out a system against the Norwegian Rat, said no GM ever. Okay. Except for those guys who are about to play Magnus, then I'm going to spend the next month working on the Norwegian Rat. And it's still, and the funny thing is, they know he's going to play it. Like he's played like a zillion Banter Blitz games with it on Chess 24. You should check them out.
Uh-huh.
These GMs know he's going to play it. They had come in with engine preparation, and he still kicks the crap out of them. I used the other word in my last interview with Jim, and I had to apologize to all the 6-year-olds watching. So this time I used crap, like the PG-13 family-friendly word crap. Okay.
Yeah. I do have the emoticon for that, but I won't show it. But
if it's so refuted, why can't the top GMs beat Magnus with it? They know he's going to play it, right?
Right.
Obviously, if they're going to if there's some absolute refutation where it's unplayable, they haven't found it yet. I mean, I'm not saying maybe someone will, but nobody has found it yet. Know. And that's even if they do, who cares? You think at the club level, the people that buy the book are not, in the Magnus Carlsen range, right? Neither are the writers. I mean, look, at the club level, if an 1850 buys the book, what's that now? I can't see. What's the title?
Well, you mentioned the winnower earlier, and the winnower was too many people knew it. So I started playing the McCutcheon for the reasons you're talking about. And I ended up writing a book about it. Shameless self-promotion here. But this is the kind of thinking that's going behind it, because it wasn't refuted, but people thought it should have been refuted, because you end up with this pawn structure that is, what's the word? It's not CRAP. They think they're playing against a terrible opening right from the start.
Jim, I want you to watch your language, okay? You spelled the word, and at age 6, they can spell that out and know what it means, okay? So watch your language, okay?
Later in life, I guess, and I played chess later in life too. So,
Korchnoi I played the King F8 line, against the McCutcheon, where he doesn't weaken, but he knocks his H8 rook out of play. But I like that.
I didn't like it. I didn't like the KF8. So I ruined my kingside pawn structure. And said,
okay. I always played the King F8. I like that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, fine. Carsten, I wanted to ask you, because obviously you have some affinity for the Norwegian Rat, because remind me where you were born.
I'm born in Denmark, so. Which is a neighboring country to Norway. What, sorry?
Yeah. So why did you get Cyrus involved?
Well, actually, this was Cyrus' idea. I mean, because I've had a series of books called the Opening Hacker Files, which is basically with the same purpose as we're describing here with the Norwegian Rat, basically to sort of depart from standard opening theory and then just start playing on your own terms. I mean, a little bit of theory, your opponent knows basically nothing, but at least you're armed with the knowledge that exists about this particular thing here. And I mean, I had this series started, and then Cyrus and I had been talking about writing some together, and he's like, how do you think this opening would work for this particular series? And I'm like, that could work. And that's when he brought up the idea also that we needed to play the opening, which of course struck fear in me instantly. But again, but at the same time, this has also been a philosophy of mine. Anything that I write about, I should also be able to play it, because
It's a question of integrity.
why would I convince somebody else? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Why should other people follow my advice if I don't actually know anything about it myself? So I always try to play the openings myself. I mean, when I wrote about the orangutan last year, I actually ended up playing it to begin with, just because I thought, okay, let me just get a feel for it. But now I've been playing it nonstop since, and the grandmasters are still running ahead against the wall when I'm playing it. So it's difficult to stop playing it now. And the same thing goes with this opening here, because to begin with, I'm like, I can't wait for us to stop writing this book so I can stop playing the opening, because my opening was my rating was on a downslide. But the more I worked on the book, my results became better and better. And I mean, I'm still playing it now after the opening is out. Sorry, the book is out, and I mean,
Me too. Me too.
the other day. So with it, so.
Guys, I'm going to say, I was brave enough to push the pawn to B3, but I couldn't manage to get it to B4. I think it was just because it was a week.
Well, Carsten's book is awesome. I have his orangutan book. I do I told him there was one glaring omission in the book. The one big problem in the book. He didn't use that quote from Planet of the Apes, the "Get your damn dirty paw." What is it? "Get your paws off me, you damn dirty ape." Not once in the book did he use that quote. I mean, come on, really?
Carsten has to come on. You got to quote him. But
you have to. I mean, I annotated one orangutan game in my entire life. It was Fisher. It was a Fisher Simul game where he opened with B4. Boom! First sentence: "Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape." Boom!
Of course, crying out for you.
Yeah. Yes. And
maybe it's a Denmark thing.
And I omitted it completely. That's a crime. I agree.
You take criticism well.
You can't remember everything. There's so many aspects to writing a book. It's so easy to omit a critical fact like that, out of the book.
Yeah, and that's what second editions are for.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And
we're going to call it that. We're going to call it the damn dirty ape.
Yeah. And then you'll get some letters, emails. But I must ask you, if it's a rat, orangutan, like, what's the thing with animals?
We love animals.
And what's your next book?
The Collie.
That was fast. I like it. It's not pronounced that way. Correct his pronunciation, Carsten.
How
would you call it? You would say what?
Yeah, color. Like COLLE, color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we say in the United States, I was brought up referred to it as a collie system.
Yeah.
We're going to call it a different name, though. We're going to call it every single episode of Lassie. Okay, there was one line, "Lassie, get help." That's the name of the next book on the collie. Lassie, get help. Okay.
Wow, that's a brilliant idea.
That kid fell into so many wells. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay,
like, I mean, is there an episode where
Lassie would bark, "Lassie, get help." Okay, Lassie does the trick. Boom.
Yeah. I mean, it must have been the easiest to
Cyrus,
write.
We should call it Magnus Carlsen's.
Yes,
that's right.
Magnus Carlsen's get help.
Why the two whores? We just call ourselves the two
Bobby
whores.
Fischer and Magnus Carlsen. Lassie, get help. Oh, that's brilliant. So back to your wonderful book that I have skim read cover to cover, and this is something you can see. The cover is White's pawns are on D4 and E4, giving him massive control over the center. But that's what I think at first. But occupation doesn't mean control, does it? Is that one of the points of your book?
Okay, here's one of here's an incredible blitz benefit. Okay, Carsten sent me this hilarious game he beat this GM with the Norwegian Rat, and his opponent thought that, obviously if you open with G6, the next move is going to be Bishop G7, right? And so he pre-moved Knight F3. Okay, and then Carsten banged out, "I'm sorry, knight takes E4. Little man, you shouldn't have pre-moved against me." And the game before that, Carsten beat him with an orangutan.
Oh,
So he beat him with the 2 animal openings, one with a dirty trick and one because he took him out of theory. This is how devious we are.
yes. Well, devious old age and treachery beats youth and talent every time.
Every time.
And so you've got an animal opening as white and an animal opening as black.
Yeah.
Perfect repertoire.
Yeah, definitely.
What about hippopotamus, Carsten? We've never written one on that.
No, I haven't.
Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Hippopotamus, hedgehog,
Hedgehog
collie.
I've actually played, so
The hedgehog is it still theoretically considered playable? It
I think
certainly
so.
was in my day.
Yeah,
The hedgehog or hippo? Which one?
Yeah.
Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, it's completely playable. It's
Yeah.
just, if you don't mind living in a 1-room apartment with a family of 12, it's fine.
Or as I used to say about the French, you have no space, you have no hope of getting space.
Right. It's
Well, you can't
basically
resign because you haven't lost anything.
the openings like the French are really for the humble. Like, no, please, after you, sir. Oh no, after you.
Oh,
You
I
take
couldn't
space.
take
You
more.
take the space.
The French to me says you played E4, that means you want to control D5. Well, E6 says you can't have it. And not only that, but after D5, I'm going to fight you for E4. You thought you could occupy it? I'm going to fight you over that.
exactly.
So I think it's an ornery, nasty opening.
Yeah.
I think the French, you have to be kind of cold-blooded. Like you have to be pretty cold-blooded to. I've been playing how kids play Danish Gambit, and they all play E4, E5, and
games.
or Sicilian.
Morphe or something.
When I was when I was 8 years old, I was playing modern French Carocon, all these shifty openings where I stay behind the lines.
When you're 90, you're going to be playing Paul Morphy openings.
Yeah, I mean,
you're just
my greatest fear is that Carsten will tell me our next line will be a line of the dragon, and then my rating really does hit it goes below the 1,000 mark.
You're going to get more tactical as you age. You were positioned
dragon. Fortunately, actually, you actually never will get a dragon because only 1 out of 100 games does White now play Open Sicilian. Everyone will play that stupid Bishop B5 check on you, or C3 Sicilian, or closed, or Grand Prix, or it's amazing the way Sicilians have evolved, where it's against the law now to play the Open Sicilian. It's fun has been outlawed.
Yeah,
in
no one's going to be
now.
showering boards with gold pieces anymore.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Well, we'll see. After Magnus retires, maybe somebody will come in and play something that we can call the Peruvian something. Or the
He's
Chilean.
not retiring, people. I'm telling you, I
read it online.
It's a bluff. It's a bluff. It's a thing to bump up the prize fund. I'm positive he's going to do that. Imagine if you say, remember when Fischer said, "I'm not playing Spassky." Oh, we'll quintuple the prize fund then. It's the same thing. Everybody wants to see a Magnus match. Imagine if Nakamura is the challenger. Okay, of course, Magnus will win, but it would be an incredible match, right?
It would be the first World Championship match where 1 E4 and 2 Queen H5 was played.
Yeah, I know. the pseudo Scheibel. It's called the pseudo Scheibel from
Pseudo, like
Mr.
it's a real
Scheibel.
one?
Mr. Scheibel from the Queen's Gambit. The
Oh,
janitor coach. Queen.
oh
He
yeah,
played
yeah, right.
before Queen H5. This is a variant where you play Queen H5 first.
Yeah, okay. Pseudo.
Yeah, I
Pseudo
mean, but I
Scheibel.
mean, you saw Magnus Carlsen play the other day, and he played, I think, one
F3.
episode. So
Now that's provocative.
it is, but again, I mean, Magnus Carlsen is giving a clear signal to the world. I mean, like, I'm here to play chess. I'm
Yeah.
not here to just
Right.
rehash, memorize
Exactly.
lines.
Thank
And
you for saying that.
and I mean, just to draw that parallel back to us here, and this is what we want to do also when we are playing these openings here. We don't necessarily want to compete against a grandmaster or a much stronger player in memorizing lines that they have worked over. And I mean, we are not the youngest players anymore. There's no way we can remember 20 moves of opening theory. So why not just play lines that are fun and appeal to us, where common sense has a bigger role in the games, and where planning and strategy actually comes in and decides the game, rather than just you played a line or a move on move 18 that wasn't the best, and your opponent can just refute it outright. That's not fun. That's not fun at all. So
Carsten, that's music to my ears, and it's why I've liked you from the start. Cyrus is warming up to me now with this book that you co-authored.
I was just thinking of what Carsten was saying. Okay, I can't remember opening theory anymore, but I do remember we had a Magnus chord organ when I was a kid, where you memorize the numbers and you press the numbers.
They're
And I
horrid.
still remember the memorization of Three Blind Mice. Watch. 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 4, 3.
Some of these things, like the trauma in the third grade poem, that then never lead you.
I gave up an incredible career as a organist, a Magnus chord organist.
Well, that there are more obscure things than being a chess professional.
I know, like origami professional. I don't know what's more obscure than that.
Or rodentology, that's a specialized field.
Yes.
I'm going to have to Google this. I'm almost certain there's no word called rodentology. I think.
Yeah, I know. I might have made that up, but being creative is what we're talking about, right? You got to, don't go to this old school like that. Yeah, I can look it up in the dictionary stuff. Make up words. Come on, people. But Grandmaster Robert Hubner once told me that he was the third best proprietress if that's a word, in the world, but the world only needed two.
So he still made a career out of it, right? I mean, he played chess, but I think he worked until he retired on Cyrus. So.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about the fact that a guy could be ranked in the top, 5 or 10 in the world, and get a PhD and reach the top of your field in your PhD. I mean, it's like that mind-blowing emoji is incredible.
Yeah.
Not since Lasker has that happened, and in the modern day, I just don't see it's possible. I mean, unless you're you would easily be world champion if you did that. Okay, if you quit the academics, you'd be world champion. If you have that much gift that you can do that in two fields, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yes. That's an excellent point. And some of these people, we now with our engines will what I really admired about it was the annotations, because the annotations would have variations and sub variations, but then there would be sub variations to the sub variations. And
yeah, I am not a fan of the Hubnerian.
It would be mind-boggling.
Yeah, I remember trying to follow his annotations as a kid, and it was no, I will not be going over that note that fills one informant page with in parentheses.
Talking about being dedicated to the art form of chess, he was one of the best representatives of that to me. But so how many variations do you have in the Norwegian Rat?
Well, I mean, there are a few, but the thing is, when you shuffle all the way back to the back of the book, we have like a quick repertoire of about 30 lines, which I mean is basically all you need to start playing the opening with some level of confidence. Because again, I mean, the theory is relatively light to begin with, and then there's only so many setups for white that are worth anything. So once you know how to navigate those, I mean, you're pretty much okay to get started playing it, especially in Blitz and Rapid. I mean, if you want to play it in regular time control games, then you probably need to study a little bit more. But for Blitz and Rapid, I don't see any reason why you should. I mean, when Cyrus and I started,
author to author, I want to ask you, like you have this repertoire, and you put it in the back of the book. Why didn't you put it in the front? Because the first thing I looked for was that.
Because again, I mean, many people they shuffle their way through the book and say, "Ah, it's too much here." But again, it is on the contents page. So
That's
if they
true.
really were dedicated enough to
that's how I found it.
Yeah. So
I haven't read the book yet. I need to check it out. But no, I'm serious. I haven't opened the book yet. I only looked at the cover. I don't know what's inside the book. You know?
Tell me more about what this book says. Yes, because I haven't gone through it either. But I do have to say that the idea of having a brief concept of what the variations are, because there aren't that many variations to get comfortable with, and then to go over examples as you two provide, so that you get an idea of the structures that might show up. And as Cyrus mentioned earlier, the middle games and end games start to look a little bit alike, a little familiar.
Yeah.
Especially middle games, I mean, are very similar. You know, there's like one or two shifts, but their positions are the same. And, you know, in each chapter, the positions tend to be the same. It's one of the easiest openings ever to, you know, to play, because the lines are narrow. There's only 13. When Carsten and I started the book, there were only like around 1,300 games in the database with it, and the vast majority Blitz and Rapid. So there's like virtually no theory. You're on the ground floor of a new corporation here. You know, I mean, okay, let me tell you a story. Like, I knew about the Berlin Roy Lopez, the black side of the Berlin Roy Lopez. And I would routinely beat people on the light squares over and over and over. Then Kramnik ruined everything by using it to beat Kasparov.
And then everybody.
And all of a sudden, theory, you know, like people were knowing theory to move 18, and that's when I gave it up. Yeah, I don't like playing anything where the other guy doesn't have to think. I love it when the player has to think, you know, so you make them think. They hate it. They hate thinking. Most chess players can't stand thinking. They love being told by theory what to play. I mean, we're telling you too, but we're telling you a lot less. Okay, can, and there's way more
flair for the individual.
There's way more BS room in the Norwegian Rat, you know, where.
Well, I must tell you, because it is my show, so it's all about me, really. I used to play the McCutcheon in correspondence games because the informant had a variation that it put plus minus, and it wasn't. It was misvalued.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
every correspondence player would play into that line, and I would win.
Yeah, it's the same thing as the plus minus. I saw a book.
Yes,
I saw a book where it mentioned the Norwegian. I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw, and it just said knight f6 e5 plus minus. You know, well, we cover that plus minus for like 30 games. You know, like what are you talking about? Like we have like 1 billion games that show it's not really plus minus. You know, it's like not so simple. Like, I mean, there are a ton of lines. That's just superficiality, though. It's lack of understanding. You know, I mean, not everybody's gonna spend a ton of time on some bizarre little sideline like knight f6.
Yeah.
And the assumption is you just get see, if the knight goes to d5, you get an inferior Alekin's defense. Okay. You just get an inferior Alekin's.
Or an inferior French. There's like you said earlier, you get it
right with the Petrosian line, exactly. Except that they're not inferior, and engines don't understand everything. Okay, they don't understand concepts like a development lead isn't that wonderful if you can't exploit it by opening the position. If the opponent has all the pawn breaks, and you've got your pieces out and they're doing nothing, they're just like a window dressing, right? But this is a conceptual thing that a computer, at least yet, doesn't understand.
Right.
And so they will give plus over minus in the Norwegian Rat and the Petrosian French. And then 15 moves later, the black is okay. I mean, look at Magnus's games. Go to Chess 24. Look at the Magnus Banter Blitz games. I mean,
Cyrus, I must caution you about being too humanist here, like humans over machines. I'm sensing a little hostility there.
Look. This is my philosophy. Okay, when Skynet takes over and the machines kill all the humans, they will need a few human slaves, and my goal is to be among the living, the slaves of the machines. So I don't like to insult machines, but every time I open my mouth about a machine, I blast the machine and I crap all over the machine. So I know that there's no way the machines will kill me. I will be on the death list when Skynet takes over.
Mm-hmm.
So
what about you, Carsten? Do you think machines are going to take over and we'll never play another game of chess?
No, not at all. No, I'm not worried about that at all. I think there's still so much room for us to play like idiots when we're playing against each other. So even if the machines have mostly solved certain things, I don't think there's a problem. I mean, they still play other games that have been solved by computer engines, and where the engines basically have decided what is right and what's wrong. I mean, checkers has completely been solved.
Right.
So, and how many one games have you butchered? Like I can't tell you how many games that I got an advantage and then I ended up losing, and so many games where I was getting crushed and ended up winning. So there's still a lot of chess to be played, even if we got these variations.
And even the strongest players in the world manage to do that. I mean, that's I think what we can reconcile ourselves with, that even if we make stupid mistakes and so on, I mean, the best players in the world, they don't win all their winning positions either. And so why worry? I'm not worried. I think it's too much fun to worry about, to start worrying about these things here that actually plays no role.
You said another word that I want to end on is fun. Is chess fun for you, Carsten?
I love it. I think it's fun. I mean, there are moments when I've lost 3 games in a row online where I don't think that's fun. But generally speaking, yeah, I think chess is more fun than ever. I truly.
Oops. Carsten,
yes, to do.
Okay. And Cyrus, how about you? Is chess fun for you?
If it's creative, it's fun. Like anything new, like this book, or like 1B3. When I first wrote a book on B3, I went, oh my God, my rating is gonna tank. And it turned out to be my highest winning percentage. I scored I played 31 games when I got Nimzo Larsen move by move. Okay. And I scored a little over 90%. And I mean, I get multiple IMs. Okay. And mostly masters, mostly over 2,200. And I scored over 90%. It's because the positions are weird. I'm just one of those players that likes
weird,
outside of theory, weird, even though in my life, I'm so normal, so very normal, and
that's weirdly normal.
That's a joke, but okay.
No, it's right. You can be very cautious as an individual, but your chess playing can be very risk-taking and crazy, and vice versa. You know, the character does not necessarily of the person is not always reflected in chess, and that's what makes it so rich, so interesting, because you can know a person and you think they're going to be this type of player, and it turns out you're wrong. You made an error in judgment.
That's because
They're
chess
different.
is your inner truth. Your style is your actual inner truth, and I don't think you can hide your style. It's who you are inside. Like if you're impatient as a like, truly impatient as a person, your chess will be impatient. You know, you'll do, or if you're overly cautious, you'll be overly cautious in your chess. So it's a reflection. Chess is a mirror of our inner self, the style at least.
And not only do I agree with that, I think that there's more capacity for players to have fun playing chess than those who are competing for the world championships, because then it's not so much about fun. Then
Oh, it's not fun at all for them.
right.
Absolutely. They're fighting for their place in history, and they're fighting for ego too. You know, like I remember I played professionally. Like it supplemented my income as a teacher. Okay, but I was winning tournaments. Carsten needs to run shortly, so I'll keep this under 45 minutes.
Okay, good. Thanks for your compassion.
Um, anyway, chess got so much fun when I retired from tournament play because I realized I was no longer wasting all this energy defending ego. You know, like now, who cares if you beat some old IM with dementia? Like, big deal. You beat some guy with dementia. Freaking deal. You know, but you know, when I was like a pretty high rated player, like my USCF was around 2,600, you know, like it was like, no, I can't lose. I can't lose, you know.
Yeah. So have fun. And you guys are putting fun back in the game with this kind of material.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And, you know, just leave that with that message, man. Chess is to be played for fun.
Yes, I totally agree.
Okay. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you so much.
Justin, you got to go back to work. And Cyrus, you pet your dogs for me. All right? Okay. See you later, guys.
Yeah, take care.
All right. That was episode 57. If I can count, and I can usually count, 57 follows. 56, right? Double check my work at home. But thank you for joining us, viewers. Hi, Mom. And we will see you next time we have a show.